If it wasn't for my daughter, I couldn't put the computer on.
There you go. So we gave a little shout out to everybody involved, and just check out our stuff. Ignacio is the new voice of History Channel's Gangland Chronicles. Go figure. I have a reality show on A&E Network called Inmate to Roommate. Season 2 is this, a week and a half from now, the 30th. You turn on your TV, you'll see, like, for the last few days, every time I turn on my TV, the thing from my show is like right there. It's like crazy seeing yourself on TV every time you turn it on for the cable channel. It's pretty cool. So we're going to try to hopefully move you to that level between us, Lisa, your agent, and the things that we're capable of pulling off now, the connections we have. Let's collaborate and continue doing this.
Let me just say this here. If none of this works, I'm going to go back to doing porn.
Okay. So Mary's standing by. She's going to come on in a few minutes, just to introduce herself and to tell you a little something, because I know there's something, there was some money missing, and she might have some ideas or some comments on that. So where were we on your story? You become a cop,
right?
Brooklyn College training.
Okay, I become a cop. While I am in there, I'm sitting in a suit. I know enough from my dad. I was very well schooled. Sit there, shut your mouth, keep your mouth, don't say nothing. Don't be the best in the class. Don't be the worst. Fall someplace in the middle. While I'm there, I run into a young lady that knew me, and I knew her, and I knew her family, and she knew who I was. And we just looked at each other and laughed hysterically. And I said, don't say 2 words. She's still my friend. She's a wonderful human being, but she was a shaker and a mover like I was. And very, very funny. All right. So
they were laughing that the both of you were becoming cops, basically.
You're like, what the hell are you doing here? And I says, I got the same question for you. How did you pass? Okay.
It's like the story about going to heaven. Who's going, who's not. I think when we get there, when we get to heaven, we're all going to wonder, how did you get here?
So all I could say is this doesn't say too much for the applicant investigation division of the NYPD. This guy was, he was all right. He didn't look. He wasn't looking.
Right.
He just scratched the surface. But he wasn't going to. I was never arrested or anything like that. I never had parking tickets. I never had moving violations. I'm pretty squeaky clean. I lived the life of an altar boy.
Right.
I'm not a drinker.
I used to be an altar boy. You know how most of us turned out, right? There are a lot of them.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was not allowed to be an altar boy. I was Italian. The school I went to was predominantly Irish. The Irish were they took care of themselves. The Italians were just nothing but nothing.
I'm from Gravesend, Brooklyn. My church was a Lady of Grace on Avenue W. That's where Gambino went, and that's where he was at his funeral. Our Lady of Grace, Gravesend, baby.
Okay. So where are we? I get into the police academy. All right. Now, when you leave the police academy, they put me at the time in something called a neighborhood stabilization unit. That's what it was called. That's basically field training. Okay. Where did they send me? They send me to the 7th precinct. It's called that's where we turned out of NSU 1, neighborhood stabilization unit number 1.
Lower East Side.
Lower East Side, the asshole of Manhattan. Now, what we did was every day when they put us out, we covered the 1st Wall Street area, 5th Chinatown and Little Italy, 7th and 9th precincts, which was Alphabet City. All right. I find out later on that the 7th precinct, the police department is broken up into what's known as boroughs. Okay, the borough of Manhattan South was the 1st, 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, 13th, 17th, Midtown North, and Midtown South precincts. Basically, it was 59th Street down, river to river. Okay, so that's where I was. I was in Manhattan South. Now, each borough has what's known as a dumping ground. Okay, that's for the cops that get into trouble.
Right.
That's they send the cops to they're they're problem children.
Right.
Where do I start? I start in the dumping ground. I have no place to go but up. So
Right.
I was going to be a rising star. Now
I know this from our previous conversation. You started in 1984, right?
correct. Right.
Now, in 1985, I'll share this with my audience. I was had a security company doing alarm systems, locksmithing, and I was in real estate with Century 21. A friend of mine died. I self-medicated with a little coke. I got it over my head. And one of the places I used to go cop was right where you were on patrol.
Correct.
The same year you started, a few months before I started getting really over my head. And I will tell you, where Lou worked was one of the most dangerous places you'd ever want to set foot in the United States, maybe probably like the South Bronx of the 70s. It was nothing but abandoned buildings, dope holes in every doorway. Walk up, you'd have to walk up. In my case, if I was getting, what I was doing was coke. Fourth floor walk up. There's guys up there, laid out, sometimes bodies. I got robbed in the hallway one day. I had a gun stuck in my stomach. I had, this crowds of people everywhere. They're all looking to rob you, get over on you. Cops creeping up on you all the time, including Lou. And I got hemmed up there one time, pretty terrible. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But tell us your version of the Lower East Side, and where I used to go cop was 110 Rivington Street.
Okay. What happens to me is I'm in this neighborhood stabilization unit number 1.
Right.
And I'm covering all these precincts. Each day they gave me a different post. One of the things that happened to me, they put me down in the 5th precinct, which is Little Italy and Chinatown.
Right.
Okay. Now, my ex-wife's grandfather lived on Elizabeth Street. And while I'm patrolling there, I used to come out and see me. Come on, he says, Sonny, he's called me Sonny. Come on, let's go. I'm going to introduce you to my friends. So I go around, I meet these old Italian guys, and it was a club, but I don't know who I'm talking to. Okay. And this guy talked to me like this. Hey, Sonny, you got to do me a favor. You got to keep the cokies off the block because my mother walks over here. No problem. No problem. Okay. You got to take a shit. You come in here. You want coffee? I got to make them a coffee. No problem. Okay. Now, I used to see these guys all the time. I'm working there every now and then. One day, I'm on the corner talking with this guy. The sergeant rolls up on me. They have to do something called, they give you a scratch. He drove up with the car. I give him a salute. We called it a highball. And he looks at my book to see what I've done, what kind of activity I've done. And then he signs it. He gave me a visit. Okay. He goes, who are you talking to? I says, I'm talking to one of the old guys in the neighborhood here. He says, I didn't know who he was. I knew he was somebody, but I didn't know what kind of somebody he was.
Right.
Okay. So he goes, you know who the guy is? I said, I have no idea. Okay. It's my wife's grandfather's good friend. They grew up together. The guy was Joe Beck. Okay. Joe Beck was under Carmine Galante. This guy was one of the biggest heroin dealers ever to walk the earth. I had no idea. That was the last time I walked that post. They took me out of there. I wasn't doing anything. I was a brand new cop. I didn't know,
They didn't want to put you at risk of being corrupted.
He says to me, the sergeant was an Italian guy. He says, who you talking? I don't know. I know. He's an old man, an old Italian guy. What do I know? Okay. And I got to meet a lot of the guys in the neighborhood. I knew who they were. All right. But
so this big joke that's out there that the mob's not allowed to deal or get involved with drugs, and meanwhile almost all of them are involved in it.
Yeah, that was one of these rules.
Right.
You know what I mean? See no evil, hear no evil. All right. So now
I think the reason for that is they realize that virtually anybody who's either using it or trafficking in that is facing so much time between that and racketeering. They're all going to turn a form to get 5 years.
People don't know. Okay. My job as an investigator, we try to do what's called A1 your subject. Anything beyond 2 ounces, selling 2 ounces or more is an A1 felony. And an A1 felony you could get 25 to life. Same thing as a murder. So that A1 in a guy, you got him by the short hairs. You know what I mean? And then you could squeeze him and roll him. And that's Carlo Gambino did not want to. He said drugs create informants, and he was very, very right. Exactly. Because I was a champion at creating informants. One of the things I was very, very good at, and talking to people. And that's what I do. I enjoy talking to people. The guys, I locked up guys, they love me just because I'm a regular guy. So getting back to the 7th Precinct, they open up a unit called Community Patrol Program, Community Patrol Officer Program, CPOP. Now, I don't know anything about this. I'm not even done with 6 months of my street training. And I go to see this sergeant. His name was Bobby Concepcion. I didn't know the guy from a hole in the wall. Everybody hated him. He was a pain in the ass. I said to him, boss, what's this program all about? He said to me, listen, you're a new jack. If I could get you in this here program, you come work for me, I'll give you steady 4 to 12s with weekends off. I'm out of the police academy. I don't have to go around the clock rather.
Right.
I'm going to work steady 4 to 12s with week. That's unheard of. So I said, what do I sign? He gets me, he picks me up. Okay. Now I'm the low kid on the totem pole. They give me the biggest post in the precinct. Now, if you know the area, I came and walked out of the precinct. I had Pitt Street to Houston Street, down to the drive, into the park, all the way back to Jackson, Cherry, back up to Grand, and back to Pitt Street.
That's a big.
It was altogether 34 block faces that I patrolled all by myself. And a lot of that was in the projects.
And a lot of that, for my audience who might not know this is as the beginning of the crack epidemic was starting, one of the most dangerous areas in the country. And this man is in his 20s patrolling it by himself.
I was 26 years old, all by myself. I could have been caught there, and they would have killed me, and they would have never found me. My sergeant used to tell me, 8 o'clock, I want you to meet me at such and such a corner to make sure you're still alive.
Right.
Okay, so I'm working there. Then they said to me, this is your post. It was Community Patrol Officer Program, CPOP post number 4. You do whatever you think you have to do. You're the sheriff of your own town. Do what you have to do. That was a mistake.
Well, now you already told my audience you're into judo. We'll get there in a minute too, but you're really good. In those days, but you already trained with all that stuff? I
had started training judo in 1970. Okay. And I also cross-trained in other martial arts.
So you're no slouch. You're definitely an ass.
Well, I had to do a few demonstrations for the people on the street. This way they know.
For your constituents.
Don't play. I was very heavy-handed. Okay. You got to set that precedence because I was by myself. But also, I set the precedence that I'm a real nice guy. In that, if I was getting my ass kicked, and I lost my radio or whatever, I want one of the people on the street to call for me. Right. Now, when I first got out there, it's predominantly Hispanic. I didn't know a Mexican from a El Salvadorian, from a Puerto Rican, from a Dominican. Now, a lot of these people don't get along. Okay, I had to learn the culture. Okay, I called everybody Puerto Rican. What the hell do I know? That's what I knew.
I know from my time going out there, the cop, I was dealing with a lot of Dominicans in that time.
Yeah, domos. We call them domos. Right. The captain of the precinct, I don't want these guys blocking the sidewalk. They can't drink beer. They can't do that. Listen, you got to understand who these people are. They're hardworking people. They're just not fortunate. They don't have the education that I had. And the guy comes home from work. He goes up. He takes his shirt off. He comes downstairs. He wants to play a game of dominoes and have a beer. Who am I to give him $100 summons? You follow what I'm saying?
Right. All you're doing by that is creating resentment.
Listen, I'm getting my ass kicked. Then the captain's sitting in his office. Okay. I was just very fair. If I knew your car, I had to give out 5 summonses a day. Okay. And what I would do is I would look for guys that I knew were down there to buy drugs and park their car illegally to get in and out. I would bang them with the summons.
Right.
Okay. They had stolen cars. I banged the same car every day. Nobody's going to pay the ticket.
That's your officer discretion to do it that way and not create resentment. You don't want resentment among the citizens when you might need their help. So you might actually need their help one day.
I have the ability to warn and admonish, and that's what I did many times. I knew that there was a lot of guys taking sports. They were playing numbers, and in Manhattan you had single action, and my grandfather played numbers till the day he died. He got caught, he died, and he had the numbers in his pocket. I played a number once, 241. I hit it straight. Never played another number. Okay, I made like $1,000, but yeah, I knew who the bookmakers were and this and that. These are old Spanish men. They were just doing it. I didn't bother them. I was going to lock them. First of all, I really didn't know too much about the crime itself. Okay, and in my heart of hearts, I felt that the only reason why it was a crime is because the state, the city, and the government couldn't tax them.
Right.
Okay, it was a game of chance. I tell the story. One time, I was walking down the block. I see an old man make an exchange with a young guy. So as I approach, the young guy runs. I said, this guy's selling drugs. Must have been about 78 years old. So I grabbed him. I pulled him into the hallway, and he had a bag. He had thousands of dollars in the bag. Okay, and then I look. He's got a bunch of paperwork. It's all the plays or whatever. Now I didn't fully understand this. And I'm not going to take it into the precinct. I'm a new jack and have some lieutenant start screaming at me because the first thing they say is, "What do you got, kid?" And I'm going to say, "I don't know. I got a 70-year-old man with a bag full of money and a bag full of paperwork." Throw me, the old man, and everybody else out the door. So I looked at the guy, and I didn't see him. I saw my grandfather, and I said, "Papi, a casa," like in other words, go to your house. He looked at me in my eye. And he said, "God bless you." I didn't take his money. That was never me. It was probably dirty money. I could have taken it. He wouldn't have said nothing.
Right.
Because I felt that if I locked him up or I took that money, either him or his family were going to get hurt by it. Because he was doing the run.
Right.
And I have to tell you, that gave me a tremendous amount of credibility with the people on the street. Because they knew I was a regular guy.
You nailed them dead to rights, and you let it slide because.
But I didn't know what I had.
Right, and the greater interest, even if you knew what you had,
Yeah, if it was drugs, he was a keeper. Sorry.
You have to weigh it in the balance of the environment you're stuck in as a rookie officer, lone patrolman in a dangerous area. I mean, you got some choices to make. In a matter of survival, really.
And after a while, these guys would give me the heads up. Who's carrying, who's this, who's that. When I needed information, I could go to these people and talk to them because they knew I was a regular guy. I knew who their cars were. I wouldn't give them summonses. These were just regular people. Could you imagine living in Manhattan? You park your car on one side of the block. The next day you got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning before they sweep the street. Otherwise, you get a summons. And that's a horrible life.
That's how it was in my neighborhood of Brooklyn. They still
absolutely.
Alternate side of the street.
Side.
Thank God we had a nice big house with a side area to pull onto the property. But I had at one point we were stealing tons of cars. I had stolen cars everywhere around the neighboring streets, and I had to go out and move the stolen cars around so they wouldn't get too many tickets. To make sure they weren't getting tickets. So. But
they knew I was a regular guy, and they also knew that I was against the drugs.
Right.
Okay. And where you were banging around at 110?
110 riveting. Oh, my God.
I was a block and a half. My post started a block and a half from there. But it didn't mean that I couldn't go up there. So now I'm on this post, and I'm doing well, and I'm locking up people. And I took a kid off there was Pitt Street Pool there, Hamilton Fish Pool. I took a young kid. He was climbing over the fence, and he He got caught on the fence. A picket went through his side. I took him off, and I saved the kid's life.
I think you mentioned his intestines were hanging out.
His intestines were hanging out. I got a towel. I dipped it in the pool water because it was hopefully kind of clean with chlorine. I put it around him, and the ambulance came, and they said to me, "Listen, you got to get this kid's parents to the hospital. This kid's got emergency surgery." And I called a radio car to come with me. They took the kid to the hospital. I went to the house where the kid lived.
Keep in mind, for my audience, I know kind of the area you're talking about. If I'm not mistaken, this was one of those black wrought iron tall fences.
That's correct.
With the big spears on the top of it.
That's correct.
To discourage climbing. So you have kids that climb them and slip and get hurt. So he rescues a child off of one of these He's impaled with wrought iron. That's probably about that long. And you get him to the hospital.
Now, technically, I should not have removed him. Right. But if I let him stay there, he couldn't hold himself. It was going to go right through him.
Oh, man.
He was going to die. So I took him off, and his intestines were on it was horrible. He was a small kid. He was about 10 years old. I wrapped him up. The ambulance came. They said, this kid's got to get emergency surgery. So I got a radio car because I was walking a foot post. I was walking this by myself. We went to the kid's house, and I said to the mother, this is what's happening. You got to get to the hospital. She said, the hell with him. He shouldn't have been climbing the fence.
Wow.
Okay.
What horrible.
This is the way life was down on the Lower East Side. Yeah. So I said, I took the paperwork and I scribbled a name down. I forged it. Mm-hmm. Is it wrong? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
you did. Yeah. I mean, it's wrong, but you did the right thing. You probably saved this kid's life. So you obviously
that's the way I looked at it. I did it. I did what somebody should have done for my kid if my kid was doing that. Yeah. But it was a different way of life. I was a little shell shocked when I first got involved. I was like, I don't know if I could do this for 20 years. Because I came from a different place.
You told me some incidents like people dropping stuff off roofs and shooting at you.
As I started pushing the drug dealers around and, pushing the buyers, the buyers, you can't stay here. Okay. And I had to set a precedence that I wasn't wrapped too tight because I was by myself. I had to show that, I carried a Coca-Cola nightstick, which is like getting hit with a steel pipe. And I carried a blackjack and or a slapper, which is not, you weren't allowed to carry it, but it got people's attention because you couldn't shoot people, but they know I took that jack out. I'm opening your head. I'm going to get a Brooklyn party hat.
Brooklyn party hat.
Okay. Which was a turban.
A whole bunch of bandages.
That's right. It's a turban. It looks like a turban.
We have that image you sent. It's a little graphic and blurry, so I'm not going to put it up. But yeah, we have somebody who's got one of those on.
It was commonplace. Now, when somebody had a Brooklyn party hat, they went in front of a judge. The judge looked at him. There was nothing to say. The judge knew this guy was a problem. He got remanded. Nobody got cut loose. Right. Judge, ADAs, and cops all work together. We all protect each other. And that's what kept the city clean. See, fear equals compliance.
Right.
Okay? People do not fear police today. People do not fear jail. People do not, going to jail is a badge of courage now. It's like,
rite of passage, so to speak.
Right. Hey, what's up? And they're going to a community meeting,
Yeah. They want to see who's going to go and not tell on the rest of the organization. And then they give you a little promotion.
So I had to set a precedence. If I was talking to you and you weren't really hearing me and I was close to you, I would lift my nightstick and crack you right in the crotch.
God.
Okay? Can't stay here, right? And they very calm, very relaxed. And if I got a guy a second time, we had this thing called a jack pocket. In my jack pocket, I carried an ice pick. And I would get real close and I would stick the ice pick to your testicles and you would feel the pinch on your ball bag. And I just say, listen, when I come back here, if you're still here, I'm going to put this through your pants like I put my toothpick through my martini, my olive in my martini glass. Do we understand each other?
Right.
So,
Listen, I'm laughing. It's more like a nervous laughter because you know why, Lou? I ran those same streets doing illegal stuff right when you were there. And thank God I didn't run into you. I would have been like, yes, officer, no, officer. Even before you got to that start, I said, okay, I'm going back to Brooklyn now, officer. You know,
well,
I would never allow you to get to that point, but I'm so glad I didn't run into you because
well,
I did get hemmed up by some of your brother officers, and I went through hell. I was with a guy named Buttons. He had a handcuff key on him. He was on parole for shooting a cop. I had a pistol in the car. Cops didn't find the pistol. Right on your beat, they threw the
right.
dope out. They threw the paraphernalia out. They let us go, and they got me privately. What are you hanging out with this guy for? You have no record. This guy's like in and out of prison. I said he's a friend of mine. I was giving him a ride.
Well, listen, that's the world famous story. Okay. All right. I'll tell you exactly how things were. I'm on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Okay.
Right.
It's 11:30 at night, and or 10:30 at night because I did 4 to 12s, and I see a guy pull up in his father's Cadillac. He gets out of the car. Okay. He's got $10 bill, $20 bill, and he's walking up and down.
Right.
What is he? He's a buyer.
He's looking for the dope man. There you go.
He's looking to cop. So I approach him and say, "How you doing? How are you? What are you doing here?" And waiting for a friend. This is the world famous story. Everything is a friend. Everybody got a friend. I'm holding this for my friend. Okay. All right. Listen. What's your friend's name? I don't know. Where does he live? I really don't know. You got to have his phone number. Come on. Let's go over to the phone booth. Go over to the phone booth. I'll make the phone call. I don't know the number. You're here. You're meeting a friend. What does he look like? I don't remember. But you're meeting a friend. Okay. How close of a friend is he? Now, I'm boxing him in a corner. So it's okay. That's your car? Yeah, let me see. You have a driver's license? Let me see. I take down all his information so I know who he is. I write it in my book. Right. Then I would put that book in my pocket and crack him right across his face, hard. I say, "Listen, scumbag, you're here to cop, okay? And you don't know where you are. And that's the last time you're going to see that $10 bill. And that's the last time you're going to see that guy who's your friend. Okay. And then you're going to walk into my precinct and you're going to say you got robbed. You didn't get robbed. You got rolled. Okay. If you come back here again, I'm going to lock your ass up because I know who you are. I got your car and I'm going to take your car on you and you're not going to get it back."
To be clear to my audience, what Lou's basically saying is that he's not taking their money. He's terrorizing them not to come back and cop and put their life in danger. And that, he's just the guy he's referring to. It could be any guy who's not hip to the game or street savvy. And he's wandering up and down looking to cop and he's making himself a target. Then when he becomes a target or a victim, he's going to lie to the police and say, I got robbed.
He's shark chum. He's a shark chum in the water. Right. I spot this guy a mile away. Okay. Right. I know what time it is. All right. But if I did that today, they would lock me up. Listen, I didn't break his head open. He got a slap right across the face. Right. Be happy. Be happy. Be happy. Now be on your way. He was happy to get slapped. I gave him the slap his father didn't. Yeah. But that's the way policing was. We had rules. Right. The perps respected us and we respected them. I would never, ever, ever flake somebody. What that means is if there was a bag of drugs on the floor, I wouldn't say I saw you drop it and put it in your pocket and lock you up. That's not me. If I didn't have you right, I didn't have you. That's just the way I rolled. If you had a pocket full of money, all that money was vouched. I had rules. And this was my character. This is the way I wanted to be. And I learned this from my dad because he was a great cop. So he was my idol. You know what I'm saying? And I just knew the street from my dad. I knew how to operate. He says to me, you never say anything to anybody, any day, anytime, anywhere that you don't want a captain in internal affairs to know. Okay, you always protect your sergeant. Okay, and you also protect the guys in your squad. Right. You know, and you know it was that's the way I ran the show. So basically, I'm on this post for maybe 8 or 9 months. I'm getting a tremendous amount of support. This particular pool called Pitt Street Pool, I got a complaint, and it's my post. I got to clean it up. At night, 10 o'clock, the pool is closed, and these people were jumping in the pool, having a good time, and they're dealing drugs all over the place. Right. So now I have to correct the condition. All right. Now, I had keys to get inside the pool. Right. All right. Now, these people are coming in from all different angles. It was 2 big pools, a diving pool and they're blasting music. The pool's closed. So what I did was I got to all the guys that were on the 4 to 12, and I said, listen, at 10:30, I'm going to call a gun run in the pool, and we're all responding. Right. Okay. It's creative policing as far as I'm concerned.
This way you're not confronting the worst of the worst on your own, basically.
Well, what I got the whole precinct behind me, and it's my post, and I'm asking for help. Right. So what I would do is I would walk across the street to a telephone that was in the neighboring precinct, which is right across the street in the 9th precinct side, and I get on the phone. I go, hello, I need the police. He in the pool. He got a man. He got a gun. He's going to shoot somebody. He got the gun. I hang the phone up. And then we'd listen. Central radio. You hear beep, 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 beep. Okay, units, we got a man with a gun. This units, the whole precinct responded. And you went in there and you beat the shit out of everybody. Everybody got, tossed or whatever. It was a slap-around extravaganza. I only had to do that twice. And they never went back into the pool area anymore. Right. Okay. I had a young kid, little black kid, nicknamed me Mighty Whitey. And that name stuck. It was very, very funny. Hey, Mighty Whitey, what's up? Right. And like the kids, I used to hug them. Mm-hmm. It's just the way I was. I wouldn't, I try to be a regular guy. Right. But there was sometimes my dad says, listen, treat everybody like they're somebody, because they are. Right. Okay. You are somebody's brother. You're somebody's son. You're somebody to somebody. And you not being there is going to cause a tremendous void in somebody's life. Right. Okay. But sometimes mama had to get smacked too. And that's just the way it was. Mm-hmm. I was very, very polite and whatever. I showed respect, but I commanded respect. Right. That's who I was.
I remember you mentioned a few stories of people throwing stuff down at you, shooting at you. And the one story where you went up in a building, there was I think a gun call, and you went up and maybe didn't realize where you were. You went in.
Oh, yeah. It was 210 Rivington. Okay. Brandy new cop. Okay, and I share this story because I was an idiot. Here I am, my shiny new badge, nice hat, all leather. My leather smells new. Walking down the street, and a Spanish lady said to me, officer, on the 3rd floor, there's a guy there with a gun. A guy with a gun, cop, gun collar. We all want to make gun collars, okay? Because you get a medal for it. So I shut my radio down. I go in. I walk up 2, 3, 4 flights. There's a guy there with a gun. Okay? Take out my gun. Police don't move. The whole thing. Take out my radio. CPOP post number 4. I got an 85. I got a man with a gun. Where are you? I don't know. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know where I was. Okay? I didn't know I didn't know where I was, and that's a story I tell to cops. Take a step back, see where you are, put it across the radio, let somebody know where you are, because I could have went up there, got shot, and I would have been there for wherever. And I felt like an asshole because I hear everybody's running, looking for me. Right. I knew I was on Rivington Street, and what they had to do was run up and down the buildings on Rivington Street till they finally found me. But stupidity. Did a lot of stupid stuff.
So then you're by yourself. The people throwing stuff at you. You got shot at one time. Why did the guy shoot at you? Like there was no confrontation.
Walking through the project, somebody threw a car battery off the roof at me. Why I didn't get hit, I don't know. Another time, opposite this place called Mazurek Towers, I'm talking with a gentleman, and somebody threw a crystal ashtray. It bounced between us and hit this man in the face. He had to get surgery to get that glass taken out. I turned around, pulled my gun. There's 1,400 windows. Who do I shoot at?
Right.
Okay. In August of 1985, I was walking back to the precinct around 11:30 at night, and it's on Rivington Street. Okay. I'm on Pitt, passing Rivington, and a lady says to me, there's an argument on the corner. They're arguing in Spanish, and one guy has a gun. So what do? I don't really want to be bothered. I want to go home. But I walk up in the street. I'm going from car to car to try to catch a visual on the corner to see what's going on, because I do hear yelling and screaming. So I'm by a van, and I'm looking through the driver's side of the van to try and catch who's fighting.
Right.
And what happened is this guy stepped out from behind the van, and he lifted up his shirt, and he had a .357, and he fired 3 rounds at me. And I was no more than 8 to 10 feet away.
Wow.
I don't know how he missed me. All right. Now, I could not stop blinking. That was my reaction. I didn't have my gun in my hand. I couldn't stop. That was my reaction. With all the training. Now,
right.
I wound up pulling my gun. As I turned to shoot him, he stepped in front of a lady with 2 kids, and the lady was huddling her kids. And I was afraid.
Yeah, you can't shoot.
I was afraid of shooting the kids or the woman. Now, I could not live with myself.
He doesn't care where he shoots or who's in the back.
No, he could care less.
But you have to be very aware of your surroundings and when you pull that trigger.
Perps don't care, all right? But I had to care. And as he was running, a radio car came around Pitt Street with 2 friends of mine. Now, he backtracks. He runs up to Attorney Street. He makes a right-hand turn, running towards Houston. Now, these guys are chasing him in their car, and he ducks into an alleyway. I'm running behind the police car, okay? It happened so fast. It was just, I got at the end of the day, I would have did this, I would have did that. I did what my head told me to do at the time I had to do it. I didn't kill nobody. He didn't kill me. He got away. Another day, another way. So he disappeared.
Right.
They set up a crime scene. He had to go to emergency service. The detective squad interviewed me. They were going to go out and try to find this guy. They canvassed the area to find out who the guy was. The guy got away. What am I going to do?
Right.
The captain of the precinct said to me, I got to take you off this post because they're going to kill you. It's obviously the pressure that you're putting on these people. Somebody's going to kill you. And he put me in a van with a Chinese cop who was very difficult. Nobody liked him.
With a Chinese what?
Chinese cop.
Okay.
Okay. And he was one of the finest guys I ever worked with. He appeared to be stupid. And he was as sly as a fox. After I got to know him and he trusted me, he spoke 5 different languages.
Wow.
And I learned a lot from him, and he was just a great guy. We handled a job together on I think it was a Friday night or whatever, where a Chinese lady got pushed in front of a train on East Broadway. Okay. And we were the first 2 cops to get there. We went down, and he could understand Chinese. He heard the lady screaming in Chinese. Okay. Now he went down underneath the train. Now, mind you, we're not transit cops. We know nothing about how transit works. Okay. And the NYPD radios didn't work in the subways. This was primitive radios. We didn't carry radios. We carried bricks with antennas.
Right.
That's basically what they were like.
Repeaters.
Right. And he dropped down under that train and crawled on his belly in between the tracks and stayed with that woman whose arm was severed. And he gave her psychological aid. I went underneath that train. Now the electricity's on. and I pooped in my shorts. I was horrified.
Man.
There was two different times as a cop I was scared. This particular time, I couldn't function. That's how scared I was.
You could get electrocuted, you get run over, man.
I just it petrified me. So what I did was I told him, "You stay there." I went up to the street, and I notified the NYPD to get a hold of transit. What happened? This and that, and I set up. We blocked off streets. They had to lift up the train to get the lady out. They got her out. We blocked off all the streets to, I can't think of it, Cabrini Hospital. We got it to Cabrini Hospital, which was around the corner from the police academy. It was around 20th Street, 19th Street or something. And we saved the lady's life. We saved her arm. She had emergency surgery. About 3 days later, Jen and I, that was the cop's name, we went up to the hospital because we were still community patrol officer cops. It'd be a good thing to do. We went to see the lady and offer best wishes.
Right.
They never said a word to us. The whole family never said thank you.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Well, first of all, as time went on, I got to know, I did a lot of stuff with Asian organized crime. I wrote an intelligence paper for the 7th precinct. The captain asked me to do it because we were getting Asian organized crime gangs coming into the 7th precinct.
I remember in those days there was a lot of ghost shadows. There was ghost shadows.
Yes, ghost shadows from Chinatown.
Flying dragons.
Flying dragons. BTK was the worst at the time.
BTK, Born to Kill. I think they were Vietnamese, weren't they?
That's correct. They were Vietnamese, and they were treacherous.
I remember them. They were very, very dangerous. About this thing with the I could relate to the one thing you said about the lady under the train. She was pushed, you said, right?
Yes.
Did they catch the perp on that?
Nope. Got away. She was a male Hispanic, and the lady was she trained in Tai Chi, and she was capable of keeping this guy off of her, so he couldn't beat her up. So he pushed her in front of the train.
You know, I saw something similar. It was somebody attempting to end themselves, and I was in Brighton Beach. I think it was the D train coming into the station, and everybody, you know how you look at the train coming into the platform. All of a sudden, the lady from under the platform to end herself jumped out, cut in half, arms fell down onto Brighton Beach Avenue. Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Does anybody have a cough drop, please? We have people helping me with the show here. So.
That's all right. I just caught it from you.
You want to step away for a minute and get a drink?
No, I'm good.
Take 5? Because I have a drink, but I don't have a cough drop.
That's what I got. I got a drink over here.
All right. So now you meet this guy, you do that, they don't acknowledge you. There's a lot of people that they distrust, especially different cultures, maybe distrust the police. But at the same time, you rescued and saved her life. I mean,
I was still in the community patrol officer program.
Thank you.
And it is what it is. A short time thereafter, I hook up with this guy named Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And his partner he got transferred or he was getting promoted, and he was looking for a new partner. And for whatever reason, he decides he wants me. Great guy, great cop. So they had a new program in the precinct. It was going to be a precinct detail where they call it the robbery car. We were going to respond to all robberies in progress. We weren't going to do regular patrol functions unless, God forbid, we needed to. We had a computer in the car, so we were running license plates and what have you. This was all new. They never had computers. This is the first computer car. We had our own car that belonged to us. We were trained, and me and this guy went out together, and we were locking up the world, all robberies. Mm-hmm. Okay. And one particular day, I don't know if you remember Marla Hanson. She was the model who got cut across the face
That
with a
sounds
razor.
so familiar. I think I've seen that.
This was in Midtown Manhattan.
In the news in the 80s.
That's correct.
That sounds
It was
familiar.
around 85, 86. Now, working with this guy, Jimmy, great cop, and we're on Essex Street, and we see a bunch of guys running out of the subway. Okay, and this young kid, maybe 16, 17, he runs out of the subway as well, and he's cut completely across his face. I could see his teeth and his gums. Okay, it's flopping. It's flopping in the breeze.
Right.
Okay, so we were there. Jumped out of the car. There was a pizzeria around the corner of Essex Street. I got a rig, wet it, put it on the kid's face. The guys that we saw running, it was 9 or 10 male blacks. They had robbed the kid for his. Do you remember the 8-ball jackets?
Yeah,
it was very prominent at the time. Leather 8-ball jacket, and what we did was threw the kid in the car. He had somebody else with him, and we went out and we went around the block because we knew that they were going to run to another subway, and there was another subway on Allen Street in East Houston. And as we came around the block, right in front of Katz's Deli, we see them. We jumped out of the car, held them all at gunpoint, slammed them up against the wall, and locked all 9 of them up.
Wow.
It was a great arrest. Okay, we took this kid to the hospital, got so many hundred stitches in his face. We came back, we processed everything out, and the captain of the precinct liked what we did so much, he put us in anti-crime. Now, anti-crime is a unit that is there to, we worked in plain clothes, we weren't taking drugs, we weren't in an undercover capacity. Right. Sometimes we drove nondescript cars. Sometimes we had a taxi cab that we drove.
Right.
We were there to stop violent crimes while they were in progress. Okay. And
while you're on that topic, real quick, just before your era as a cop, Guardian Angels got started, Curtis Lewa. Right. Now, I think I told you in about the second group of Guardian Angels, I actually was a member. I was one of the few white people in it back then. You know, I hadn't screwed my life up yet. My mother was mentally ill, so I always had this thing where, you know, to really protect and try to help people, you know, and there was so many robberies in the subway, and we would patrol the subways and all that until one guy thought he was super Guardian Angel and kept getting us in jams with like really bad people. And he got stabbed right next to me because he stopped somebody from jumping over the turnstile to use the phone. And I'm like, we're not here for that. Let him go. We're not here for that. We're here to prevent violent crime and notify the police. So the Guardian Angels, in my opinion, have done many good things over the years. I think Curtis Lewa should have been mayor. He was trying to become mayor. What's your opinion of the Guardian Angels? And have you had encounters with them over the years?
I never did. Per se, I thought a lot of them had big heads and they were overreacting, and they really thought that they were cops, and they weren't cops.
Right.
You know, same thing with the auxiliary police. You got to remember, you have a purpose. Look, as far as I'm concerned, they are the eyes and ears for the police department. Don't get too deeply involved. You're not a cop.
Right. That lack of training in the beginning, and you know, people maybe have a passion to do the right thing, but they were screwing things up and getting themselves hurt many times. So, yeah, but I think they polished up their act over the years as far as better training and what they can do. You know, it's not citizen's arrest or not a citizen's arrest. You know what they can actually do, and especially with technology, I think they've got
Take information. Put us on the right track, because when we get there, do we have a direction of flight? What did the guy look like? Give me a good script. You know. Mm-hmm. Which is very important.
Yep.
Because we know the streets better than they do. Like I knew after seeing these 10 guys running the direction of flight, I knew that they were in a subway. They were going to try to hit another subway. Once they hit the subway, they're gone.
Chances are pretty good they were trying to get back to another borough.
Correct.
Right.
Oh, you don't going uptown. You know, you can go uptown and then cross the station, come back downtown, and go into Brooklyn. It didn't matter.
Lower East Side, 110 Remington Street. I remember we spoke on the phone. We know the same person. When you went into this dope hole back then, abandoned building, cops sometimes in and out of there, there was always a guy in a wheelchair. If I remember
That's
correctly,
correct.
he's Dominican. I forget his name.
He's Dominican.
And when I described him, you said, I know that guy, and I had an encounter with him.
Yep.
Tell my audience your encounter with what
I knew he was a drug dealer. I knew he was involved.
Yeah.
He was in a wheelchair all the time. His legs were shriveled up to nothing. He had leather gloves with the fingers off because he rolled his wheelchair. But he was very polite to me. He was very nice to me. He knew me by my first name. I wasn't one of officer. My name's Louie B. How you feel? If you said like yo, no, that's Officer Yo to you.
Right.
Okay. That's just the way I was. But he was a very nice guy, and he was too nice. And I knew he was dirty as dirty could be.
Right. And
one day I saw him, and he had a pocketbook in his hand. And I said, what do you got there? He found, I don't know, he had a pocketbook. What's her name again? I forgot her name.
Joan London.
Joan London. He had Joan London's pocketbook. All the money was gone. I think the credit cards were gone, but I had her pocketbook. So I took it and went to the precinct, and I called, I traced her down, and she had one of her associates come down. I gave him the pocketbook, not even a thank you. Mm. That's just the way it is.
Right.
Okay. If I would have known she was going to do that, I would have threw it in a sewer.
For the record, I believe she was a very, very well-known, prominent journalist back then.
She was what?
Was she like a journalist or something like
that? Yeah, she worked for ABC News.
ABC News.
Nice lady. Don't get me wrong. I like her as a journalist, but she could have invited me on a news station or something.
A little appreciation. It goes a long way.
A little bit, whatever. Mention the story. That a member of the NYPD was kind enough to get you didn't have to say my name. Just appreciate what we did.
In life, Lou, I've learned one thing: you do the right thing because it's right, and if you don't expect thanks, you're never disappointed. But your story gets way more interesting as we progress because there's a pattern of like people not appreciating some of the really good things you've done, including the wasteland thing, and we're going to get to that. Let's work our way to that.
Okay, I'm going to tell you another story about one of the things I did way back. Yeah. Well, let me say this. I had 6 opportunities in the line of duty to take a human life, and I killed no one.
Right.
And I'm very proud of that.